How are you? It's a pleasure for us to be here. We would like to start showing you a couple of pictures. So here, the first one, this little cute kid is when I was born in 1990 in Venezuela. Here's another one when it was, that's you. When I was 1 year old, when I was 2 years old, 3 with my brother Gabby, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So you might be wondering why there is no picture when I was between 6 and 7 years old. So I would like to share with you a story that happened to me in 1997. One day I was in my house with my brother Gabby. My mother was there, and Gabby, he had to go to the doctor for a medical checkup, and no one was in my house to take care of me, and my mother obligated me to go to the doctor. Let me tell you that I hated to go there because always, without any reason, he injected me. So anyway and anyhow, I went there. I was sitting in the waiting area of the doctor, and a couple of minutes after, the doctor came out of his office, and he told me, "Look, Daniel, since no one is here waiting for me, why don't you just come here? I check you up, and you don't have to come again this year." So I knew that was a conspiration, and I knew they were all planned that, so they're gonna inject me. So I laid down in the doctor's bed. The doctor started to check me out. When he was touching me in this area, he felt something strange. And he started to ask me, "Daniel, are you feeling well? Are you having enough gases? Are you sleeping well?" And I told him, "Look, I'm feeling pretty well." And the doctor told my mother that I have to do a tomography and other exams. And a couple of days later, we came out with those exams. The doctor saw them, and he concluded that I had something called cancer. Cancer, the cancer that I had was Non-Hodgkin Lymphoma. And that day, when the doctor told me that, my journey just started. So the reason there is no picture in my timeline of my life is because I haven't found any picture there. There is no picture of me and either my family, but all my family members and myself, we all have in our back of our minds what happened during those years. So as a cancer patient, I was in the hospital, then in my house, coming back and forth all the time. I lost school for almost a year and a half. All the surgeries came out, then all the treatments, the chemo, and I always had questions that I asked to the other cancer patients and to the nurses and to my mother. Questions like, why I'm feeling so weak? When I'm gonna come back to school again? Or why I cannot eat pizza and drink soda? Or what's gonna happen next? What's next? And after a year and a half, all the treatment came on, and I recovered from cancer, and today I'm 15 years old, free of cancer. That was something great. Thank you very much. Since then, every 6 months, I have to come back to the doctor, do all the exams, do again the tomography, the sonogram, and the radiography. It's quite funny because the sonogram is where the pregnant woman goes to check their babies, and I go there to check the melon that I had there, so they feel happy because they have a healthy life in their bodies, and feel happy because I have nothing in my life, I have nothing here in my body, so that's the experience of a cancer patient. So every 6 months, when I visit the cancer patients, I speak with them, and all the conversations that we have, it's based on questions. They ask me, "Daniel, how's the feeling of being out of the hospital? How's the feeling of going to school, doing sports, and I'm feeling weak?" And I always tell them, this is something temporarily that is going to change in their life. Even though you're in the hospital right now, you're getting better and better and healthier, and you're going to get out of the hospital soon. And they see me as something that they want to be, they want to reach one day that position as a survivor. But one day, there was a 45-year-old guy, his name is Benny, he had throat cancer, and I was speaking to him, and the same questions came out in the conversation. all the time questions until he asked me in the conversation, Daniel, when you had cancer, where did you find the strength to survive it? And I told Benny, look, Benny, being honest with you, I didn't know what cancer is. All that I know is that I had a ball in my belly. That's what the doctor told me. And I have having pain and I have fever and I have vomiting all the time and the water tastes like metal. But all that I wanted is to get out of the hospital. All that I wanted is to become a better person. All that I wanted is to live and continue my life, not being here and stuck in the hospital. And I told him, you should do exactly the same thing. Think on what you're going to do after you get out of the hospital. What's the first thing you're going to do? Are you going to travel? You're going to work? How are you going to pay the bills? What's going to happen with your kids? And that's the type of conversation I have with Benny and with the other cancer patients.
I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to tell you about a concept I wrote about in one of my psychology papers, a concept called modeling. As definitions go, modeling is a method of learning where we learn how to perform or do something by watching someone do it. You can think about learning karate from your karate teacher or watching a football game and learning how to throw a football. You can even think about it as learning how to tell a joke better because you watched the Jay Leno show. The key here is, in modeling, when you look at something and you observe it, you learn how to do it. And what's fascinating about modeling is it's not always conscious. In fact, more often than not, it's subconscious. We just watch something and we pick it up without actively saying, hey, I'm going to learn this. I'll tell you a story from my own life, and I'll actually never forget the first time I remember understanding this concept. I was maybe in the first or second grade, and I noticed a kid in my class holding his pen like he was holding a sword, and he was writing like this. And I remember thinking, like, it's kind of weird. No teacher teaches you how to write like that. Why is he writing like this? And I let it go, and a couple of weeks later, I was playing at his house after school, and I noticed that his father had the pen and was writing the same exact way. And I understood that he learned it from his father. He watched it, and he just picked it up. And about it being subconscious sometimes, another story from my own life. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. My father was a pranker. He was always buying fake rats and snakes and hiding them around the house and trying to mess with you. And one of the things he used to do was he would scare you. He would, if you left your door open, he would kind of think of your worst horror movie you don't like. For me, it was The Grudge with that weird voice. And he would like kind of come in the room and he would do the voice and he'd, what the heck's going on over here? And it kind of scared you a little bit. And it was something that I wasn't very fond of and I never did it. This past year, I'm living in New York with my roommates from school, and my roommate's at the end of the hall with the door open, and I didn't even think about it. I just kind of started creeping. I didn't want the wood to creak, so I kind of like tiptoed a little bit, and I was going to scare him, and about halfway down the aisle, I stopped. I'm like, what am I doing? I never scare people. I'm not like that. And I realized it hit me like a brick wall. It hit me that I just picked it up from my dad, and it wasn't something that I actively thought I was going to do, and it wasn't something that I just picked up. Now, psychologists talk about how this concept of modeling, at least in some levels, can extend beyond physical tasks. Meaning it can extend beyond learning how to tell a joke, learning how to scare someone, but it can extend to things like, let's say, bravery. You think of the most successful military conquests and the most successful generals, and they all, if you ask their troops, they all are brave, and they're all passionate. Passion and bravery isn't something you can teach someone, but passion and bravery is something that you embody, and your troops pick it up from you. And I think modeling comes into play here because you're watching your captain and you see that he's inspirational and passionate and brave, and that filters down into the troops. And if you extend that logic further, it can even extend into concepts like inspiration and hope. Now, in fall 2011, I met Daniel in school, and he told me about his friend, Gabriel Fagel.
So I spoke with Ethan, and I was speaking with him, and I told him that I had a friend, one of my best friends, that passed away in 2008 through a heart attack. And I told him how great this person that went next to me during a long time in my life, he was. He was smiling all the time. He was very positive, all the time saying hello to everybody, all the time saying please, thank you, all the time asking to everybody, hi, how you doing? And in this picture, we were lost in Poland, in a city called Warsaw. Are you from Poland? Good. So we didn't know Polish at the time. Well, I don't know Polish. And we get lost, completely lost in the city. We don't know where the group is, where the hotel is. We were completely lost. At that time, none of us spoke English. None of us spoke Polish, only Spanish, and that's it. So we figured out we are lost, what we're gonna do next. And he told me, before solving a problem, just laugh and smile at it, then solve it. So he was always positive. He was always with this positive mind and open mind. And I wanted to do something to remember that, to remember how positive this guy was to me and everybody around. And I spoke with Ethan and I told him, look, Ethan, I want to do something to remember here. I want to do something to help cancer patients because I understand the process and because I want to do something remembering this guy. Both together, we break down, we sit down, we break down with a couple of ideas, and we spoke about it.
And it was at that time that I was learning about this concept of modeling, and I knew it would come into play here. There was something about the way we just watch and learn from someone, often subconsciously, that I knew would come into play here. And as we talked about it, we knew there was two things we needed. On the one hand, we wanted to help cancer patients. Daniel went through cancer, and I was passionate because he was my friend and he explained to me his story, and we were passionate about helping that. And then there was also this concept of modeling and the way we learn from others. And we knew that that connection in this concept would come from the connection between cancer survivors and cancer patients. So we came up with this idea of something we call an interactive diary. And before I explain what an interactive diary is, I want to tell you what we did. As Daniel said earlier, cancer patients have a lot of questions. And the questions range from everything: social life, school, everything. Questions like, why me? When can I go back to school? And why is my hair falling out? Simple questions, but the questions kept coming. And we sat down with cancer patients and we started talking with them. We spoke to psychologists from Sloan Kettering, a cancer hospital in New York. And we tried to, again, make this list of questions. And what we noticed was the questions kept coming and coming and coming. And at the end of it, we had so many questions, we didn't know what to do. So after we had these questions, we put that aside, and then we needed to start seeking out answers. So we went to cancer survivors and we said to them, these are questions from cancer patients, and we want you to answer them. But the key is to answer them as if you had cancer. Remember when you were a kid, what would you want to have heard? What advice would you want? What story would you want to be told? How would you want these questions answered when you had cancer? And we asked them to answer these questions. So we had the questions, we had the answers, and then we created something that we call an interactive diary, which is a book. And in this book, in addition to health facts and games, to try to excite and empower a cancer patient over the prospect of healing, there's a diary section. This diary section starts off with a prompt that has to do with some of these questions, that gets you thinking about and questioning what you like, what you don't like, what saddens you, what excites you, to start talking about it. And then when you turn the page, you see the answer from cancer survivors before you. And this is where modeling comes in. We want to connect the way we learn and the way we observe other people and the way we inspire other people through these answers. And that's where our slogan comes from. Our slogan is from cancer survivors to cancer survivors. Because we want to use the stories of the last generation of cancer survivors to empower this generation of cancer survivors. And after all that hard work and gathering all those questions, we are going to make that interactive diary available in hospitals all around the country, and we call that interactive diary HopeBook.
HopeBook.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.